license and registration, he can sense your aggravation.
On the head of the fallen angel.
When the world is muttering under the floorboards, stomp even louder.
Untime.
Let them know you are alive today.
Or unhum.
Did you know that your hands came with a ripple effect?
Whisper tones unraveling like silk.
Blood, sweat, and tears win by any means poetry.
Wait, look at me. Is a piece of the pie too good for me?
Some may call it rock the mic. We call it poetry.
Hello, and welcome to Sojourn with Words. I am your host, Sistah Joy, and I'm just so very thrilled today to have our guest poet presented. Oh, I'm excited. Let me just stop and tell you who it is. Her name is Madison Harris, and perhaps you've seen her name in some newspaper headlines or online. Madison Harris is a 14-year-old student at Indian Creek School in Crownsville, Maryland. She's in the 9th grade, where she is the Student Government Association class vice president. She plays the cello and is part of many school clubs, such as the Robotics Club, Black Student Alliance. She is the soon-to-be sound manager of the school's tech crew. Now, on March 18, Madison won the Maryland State Poetry Out Loud competition, becoming the 2023 Maryland State Poetry Out Loud champion. I mean, she is truly a champion. Not only did she win for the state of Maryland, she placed 3rd from the top in the National Poetry Out Loud finals at Lisner Auditorium in Washington, at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., winning $20,000. Okay? Madison, welcome to Sojourn with Words. But I've got a few more things I want to share with our viewers. Madison speaks fluent Japanese and is learning Spanish. She loves Legos and coding. She also loves to bake. In her spare time, she likes to listen to music and play games. Her favorite artists are, and I know I'm going to kill some of these names, but I'm going to try my best. Tyler, the Creator, Kaylee Uchis.
Kali Uchis.
Okay, Kali Uchis. Oditari, and Leve. Okay. Her favorite poets are Rupi Kaur.
Yeah, like Rupi Kaur, like a car.
Okay, Rupi Kaur and Alaska Lane. Now, that gives you a little bit of background about this phenomenal young woman who is doing all kinds of diverse things. And, so much so that I would venture to say she doesn't necessarily self-identify as a poet, but I met her through poetry. So we know that she has poetry in her spirit, and we are claiming greatness in poetry for her. Madison, welcome to Sojourn with Words.
Hi. Hey.
Okay. Now, certainly, as I said, she's 14 years old. So I think you are the youngest guest poet that we've ever had on the show. So that's another championship that you hold right there. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. And I know that you managed to have a free class right at the same time that our interview is taking place. So that's something that, again, the forces aligned for you to be able to be with us. So we're going to quickly get into some of the talking points that I wanted to cover. First of all, your love for music. I understand that is significant for you. Talk to us about your love for music.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, music has always been my life, really. Like ever since the pandemic, I started to get really, really into music, and my music kind of ranges from everything except for country. I've never gotten into country, but every other genre, you can at least find one like song from my Spotify relating to it. I also have some some songs that are like jazz, like leve. It's most Americans call her Lofi, but her name is Icelandic, so I just realized that it's pronounced leve. She's more so of a jazz artist, as well as Tyler, the Creator, is more of an alternative rap artist. He's probably one of my favorites. He was my top artist that I listened to last year. And Kali Uchis, she's just, I can't tell which genre she is. However, her music kind of ranges a lot, but it's like these whimsical type tones that I just love. And she's also a Spanish speaking artist, a Latinx artist. So it's kind of fun. I love Latinx music as well. Like Jugaste y Sufrí, one of the best songs out there. Cuco, the artist, he's wonderful. I also love Odatari. Now, Odatari is more of a new and upcoming artist. Odatari is something called a sigilcore artist, where it's like Gen Z's version. Yeah, it's like sigilcore is like Gen Z's version of techno. And he actually just came out with a song last night, and I was livid. I was like, oh yeah. But other than that, like a lot of it just ranges from jazz, some classical. Since I do play the cello, it's like classical is kind of like ingrained into me, but some like conciertos, some of those are like ingrained into my brain. But I guess other things like R&B, Summer Walker, R&B, Her, Jhené Aiko, those are all great. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. I have no hate against Taylor Swift, but pop in general is like iffy for me. Like I'll listen to Ariana Grande. That's a good pop artist, but you will never catch me listening to Taylor Swift. I'm sorry.
Well, when we talk about music, though, we're talking about self-expression. And as a poet, that's something that I can connect to a variety of musical genres, because the artist is expressing through their medium and in a way that allows the fullest, I guess, sharing of whatever their message is. Admittedly, I am not familiar with the artists that you named today. However, the fact that you have such a wide range of musical interest, that to me would indicate that as a person who appreciates poetry by virtue of the competition you just were in and won, do you expect that there might be some influence from any of these types of musical genres that might spill over into poetry? Because we don't necessarily, I mean, the poetry from Poetry Out Loud is a very formal, very structured presentation of poetry. But all of these artists that you mentioned have very unique approaches to their expressions. And if you were to incorporate something in any of these artists, vernacular, do you envision that you might try that with poetry? How exciting could that be? That's
No.
a little bit much, huh? That's taking on a little bit much.
No,
Not at all. Okay.
no.
Okay. So when you think of poets that appeal to you, who is it that you're gravitating toward?
Mostly female poets and poets of color, as well as LGBTQ poets. Those, like Alaska Lane is very much a LGBTQ poet, and I love her for that. It's very different because one, it's more teen LGBTQ, as well as like you get that perspective of a heartbreak that like the generation kind of is like, oh, this is a universal experience against girls, but it's not like experienced by everybody. So it's kind of fun to see it in different ways, and how Alaska Lane portrays a girl loving her best friend heartbreak in her book, The Words I'll Never Say. Her second book is coming out late June. So very excited.
And what was the title of that first book?
The Words I'll Never Say.
The Words I'll Never Say. Okay. And how did you get connected with, I'm going to go back to Poetry Out Loud. How did you get connected with Poetry Out Loud?
So my school requires everybody in the school to do it.
Oh,
And basically in English class, they'll introduce it, give us days to memorize the poem, like just memorize one singular poem. And then whoever does the best out of that English class will go to the school competition. And then the top two from that school competition will then go and represent the county at the region competition. And you just go from there.
Poem that you presented in the finals, I don't know if you had planned to share that because it's not your poem, but you certainly, I would love for you to share that final poem. That I think it was the last poem that you presented. I'm not sure.
You're Not Responsible?
Yes, that's the one. We are not responsible. Is that something that you could share today?
Yeah.
That would be awesome because that was such a powerful piece. Oh my gosh. So why don't we say then, let's say, I know that we also wanted to speak a little bit about your plans after high school, and you're so young. Are you still, let's see, you're in the 9th grade, so you're just starting high school. So what is it that you have planned for yourself after high school?
After high school, I want to go to either MIT or Stanford. My heart does not lie with arts. It's more so with technology.
Right. And you talk about STEM. Yeah.
Yeah, I love computer science. I love child psychology as well. And I want to like major in computer science, but minor in child psychology. So I just, yeah. Yeah, okay. I want to create like more AI to help children with their mental health for the future generations. And yeah.
Okay. Now I see that there's a whole range here. We talk about your STEM, your interest in STEM and science and technology, but then there's the interest in baking. And that's the whole nother arena. Tell us
about it's a hobby. It's not like a big interest. It's just a hobby, but like that was just more so of a backup talking point. I had no idea what to put.
Well, no, because that's something that, that's a creative expression that really is. And so when we talk about, we want the person to be as diverse as possible in their, well-rounded development. And so that shows a range of development that is not strictly poetry, is not strictly IT, but there's a whole nother part of you as a very young woman. So that's a beautiful thing that should, we want to nurture that as well. So when you talk about your STEM career and your baking even, and your competition in this poetry, realm that you've risen to the top, despite the fact that you're not particularly considering yourself a poet, it speaks volumes about who you are as a person. So we're excited about that. Now, why did you choose the poems that you recited at the competition? Again, this is the Poetry Out Loud competition for viewers.
I chose Stomp, and that was the one that I recited all different, like school competition, class, regionals, state, and finals. I chose Stomp as my first poem for like all of that because it felt like a poem that you would see on YouTube. And I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely like add some hand movements to this, add some spunk to it. And like, as I did in the poem recitation, I like sped up my word, like sped up my talking, and then just slowed down. And I felt like that had so many different types of ways that you could express that poem. So I was like, yeah, that's it for me. But like the meaning itself, it does speak volumes. I never really chose any poems based off of meaning. However, most, like all three of the poems I chose have either have resonated with me in some way.
Okay. Well, how about we just go ahead and go into the poems then? The floor is yours. The mic is yours.
Okay. We Are Not Responsible by Harryette Mullen. Yay.
We are not responsible. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We're not responsible for your lost or stolen relatives. We cannot guarantee your safety if you disobey our instructions. We do not endorse the causes or claims of people begging for handouts. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Your ticket does not guarantee that we will honor your reservations. In order to facilitate our procedures, please limit your carrying on. Before taking off, please extinguish all smoldering resentments. If you cannot understand English, you will be moved out of the way. In the event of a loss, you better look out for yourself. Your insurance was canceled because we can no longer handle your frightful claims. Our handlers lost your luggage and we are unable to find the key to your legal case. You were detained for interrogation because you fit the profile. You were not presumed to be innocent if the police have reason to suspect you are carrying a concealed wallet. It's not our fault you were born wearing a gang color. It is not our obligation to inform you of your rights. Step aside, please, while our officer inspects your bad attitude. You have no rights we are bound to respect. Please remain calm, or we cannot be held responsible for what happens to you. Debbie did that.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was awesome. And the title of your next poem is?
I can do My Voice, My Choice by Jaylene Clark Owens.
Okay, please do.
So, preface, this was a poem that I used as reference for when I recited the We're Not Responsible. This was the poem that I had in mind. So, yay. Okay. Hi, my name is Jaylene Clark Owens, and this is not my voice. This is not my normal register. This is a choice. This cadence creeps unconsciously into my vocal box cavity, and all of a sudden, my voice begins to lift, wraps up my vocal cords, and presents them to you like a gift, making my voice higher and sweeter that's more pleasing to your ear palate instead of harsh sounds that play on your eardrums like a mallet. Yeah, this is not how I would normally sound. Wow, I didn't realize I was actually trying to hold the real me down to suppress me so that you can trust me. I want my voice so high you can hear the irony. I do it automatically. I just pop in this voice without thinking. The way you would pop on a life vest if you were sinking. It saves me from being too Harlem, too deep, too black. But girl, you was all of that. This voice is too flat for you to be left sitting on a cut like a cul-de-sac, waiting for a friend, a family member, your cousin. Why can't you use the same voice with an employer, but be the same one you use with your husband? Because as a woman, we are conditioned from birth to be meek, taught that a man should have the most strength. So we make our voices weak. Because as a Black person, we are taught from birth to be non-threatening, so we cry at the base of the African drum that strums our vocal cords until the silence is deafening. Because as a Black female, we are labeled angry Black woman, and even when we're not, we get the name even still. So we Kenny G our Louis Armstrongs until we sound tranquil, like a tranquilizer gun, temporarily sedating your true self, so you may be easily handled. True self on mute, but this voice matters too. Heads up, don't shoot. This voice has roots in New York City. It's gritty, knows that life is not always pretty, but it is ever beautiful in its boldness, never drowning in self-pity. This voice, this indicative of where you are from, but that should have no relevance because your home in Harlem should not be the indicative of your level of intelligence. Habitually, we are told that our Blackness cannot enter white spaces without a code. Without code switching, without it in their minds, we will be glitching, trying to compute our vernacular, but this voice is spectacular. It is the purest form of your articulated thoughts, like rainwater after impurities have been vaporized. That other voice is not the real thing, just poorly plagiarized you, universalized you. Stop treating your voice like the cat that disappears when company's around, boo. I know you feel most vocally comfortable when you're around your best friends. Finger waves become commas and claps encapsulate words like bookends. But you can't just roll your neck and refuse to articulate in a professional setting. Why not? But it's okay to upspeak so that everything sounds like a question, I'm betting. Why? Because it makes you sound ghetto, uneducated. I don't think that's a big mystery. Ghetto, that is the leftover ancestral word from the clicking languages found in the Southern African tribes. That is my history. Well, you can't always show your cards. Sometimes you need to put on a poker face. But this face is black 24/7. You can't turn it on and off based on time and place. This is yours, so own it. Stand up for its validity in powerful places. Be its proponent. Well, maybe I won't go full Harlem Bird, but I'll let my voice fly. Breaking this ingrained habit will be difficult, but I'll give it a try. So, hi. Hi. My name is Jaylene Clark Owens, and this is my voice. Love it or hate it, that's your choice. Booyah.
Okay, Madison, that was awesome. Let's see, we're going to get Madison to do 2 more pieces before she closes out our episode of today's Sojourn with Words. Madison, thank you again so much for being a guest on the show. Before we go further, is there a LinkedIn information where our guests can be in touch with you?
Yeah, you can just find me on LinkedIn as Madison Harris from Indian Creek School.
All right. So then, Madison, give us the last 2 poems that you have to close us out. Go for it.
Okay. To Fathers with Daughters by Rupi Kaur. Every time you tell your daughter, you yell at her out of love. You teach her to confuse anger with kindness, which seems like a good idea till she grows up to trust men who hurt her because they look so much like you. That's to fathers with daughters.
Okay, wow. Significant message there. Okay, and one final piece that you'd care to share?
Yeah, this is an excerpt from The Words I'll Never Say by Alaska Lane. She wanted to be seen, not looked at. Not dressed up to be someone she wasn't. She wanted to be accepted for who she was. She wanted her light to be seen as bright and beautiful, rather than harsh and blinding. She wanted to be taught to love who she was, rather than taught how to hide it. Yay.
Okay. Well, today we have had a very unique young person who is sharing words of poetry, words of music, words that are absolutely compelling and engaging us in thoughtful ways. I'm speaking of Madison Harris, 14-year-old student from Indian Creek School in, oh my goodness, where is it that your school is located?
Crownsville, Maryland.
Crownsville, Maryland. So she is the winner of the Maryland State Poetry Out Loud competition. And she came in 3rd for the National Poetry Out Loud competition that was recently held at Lisner Auditorium in George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And again, congratulations on both of those accomplishments, Madison. We want you to stay in touch with us here at Sojourn with Words, and we wish you much continued success. We know that great things will be happening for you, and let us know if there's any way in which the Sojourn with Words family can support you in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that closes us out. Thank you so much, Sojourn with Words family, for being with us once again as we present some of the best voices in the arts, especially poetry. And we know that poetry is that thing that calls us to always pick up a pen and keep writing. Be in touch with Sistah Joy on Sojourn with Words whenever possible. You can find me on Facebook at Sojourn with Words, or also reach me online, Poet Sistah Joy, PoetSistahJoy at AOL.com. I'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of our programming. And of course, this is our 17th year here on CTV, presenting poetry to the viewers in Prince George's County and beyond. Thank you so much. Pick up that pen now. When life hurts. When life hurts, we try to understand why innocent ones must pay the ultimate price. When distraught or deranged minds fail to find ways to quell or end their pain. Our grief sometimes shatters belief systems. Walls of rage create a cage that boxes us in. Barriers and blockades cut lifelines that could help us find eventual peace. In our crisis, we sometimes fail to heed signs as the bitter taste of revenge haunts, invests our humanity, clouding our minds, hardening our broken hearts as they bleed. Healing seems foreign as we grieve. Daggers twist at the notion that we must forgive, despite our deepest pain. The cruel yet crucial reality is this is the only power that allows us to live.